Thank you for joining us on this edition of the show. My guest has been at the forefront of deepening the influence of the African tech ecosystem, particularly in the area of access to funding. And he joins me on the show to share his thoughts on how and why we should improve funding for tech startups on the continent. There's indeed a lot lined up, but first, some news and updates. I am Chukwemeka Agbata. Welcome to Tech Trends.
Modern technology has become a total phenomenon for civilization, the defining force of a new social order in which efficiency is no longer an option but a necessity imposed on all human activity. In 2015, UNICEF reported that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 10 boys in Nigeria had experienced sexual violence before the age of 18. And in 2020, the figure has multiplied as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the Nigerian police saying over 700 cases have been recorded between January and May. In Adamawa State, Samuel Dirug, founder of Big Family 360 Foundation, has created an avenue for victims to speak out and report such cases. Using technology, Mr. Dirug has developed a mobile application called Smart Reporting and Referral. Also known as Smart RR, the app helps to track perpetrators of rape and other gender-related crimes. It enables survivors, social workers and service providers report and refer cases or incidents using their mobile phones.
SmartRR is a mobile application that allows people to report rape cases from their smartphones. Not just smartphones but equally basic phones, because we are integrating short codes and USSD code into the application. The app simply connects rape victims and survivors to service providers from their immediate community. This is because when rape cases are delayed and the response are delayed, it can easily lead to death. But what SmartRR does normally is to connect a rape victim or survivor to a service provider from their immediate community. And that came as a result of our work in the GBV subsector, because we identified a gap in service provision in the gender-based violence subsector. Normally, you hardly identify who is doing what and where, and how to access them is really difficult. So we thought, what if we can create an app and an interface whereby these rape victims and survivors, not just rape victims, but we are looking at gender-based violence at large.
Gender-based violence is a sensitive subject, which is why Dirog says the Smart RR app has gone through reviews and overcome ethical concerns.
When we developed this app and then we uploaded it on Play Store, with no promotion on social media, we did not create any awareness. But within a month, we've had 100 plus downloads. 100 plus downloads, and then over 150 cases were reported via the app within the first 3 months. So when we uploaded the app, we said, let's watch the adoption organically. We don't want to promote it, we don't want to create awareness, but let's see the acceptance organically. Then within that 3 months, when we've had over 100 downloads and over 150 cases were reported, and then we started seeing requests from other countries as far as Uganda, eastern part of Africa, from Cameroon, how can they use the app, Equatorial Guinea as well. how can they use the app. So we thought this is actually fully accepted, because with this it has proven to us that people are in need of this app. And then organizations from the state started registering, and then they are responding to cases without even us knowing, because for us we are just an interface. They are connecting via our platforms with survivors without even us knowing. But when we went oblivion on the database, and after 3 months we checked, we saw that there is high number of cases and equally number of users within the first 3 months. We said this is amazing.
The application is based on a robust database using the internet with USSD codes integrated into the app for basic phone users to report incidents as well. The application enhances the traditional mechanisms through text, email, robotic call, automatic update of referral directory, mobile-based application, and location identifier.
You go to your Google Play Store and search for Smart RR. When you search, the first app icon you will see is the one with red and white and blue icon with arrows inside. Then you click and then download. When you download, you open the app, and then the app would request that you sign up. And in order to sign up, you just click on sign up and register as a user. You input your name, your email, your password, whatever your password might be. You select your date of birth, your location. The app will help you to pick your location by itself. Then your phone number, then your national ID. It's not mandatory, but if you have the number you can, and then select your gender, female or male, and then you sign up. So in order to, when you sign up, you just have to log in. And then log in as a user, not as an organization. So when you log in, you will see this very particular interface, whether to report a case or to check the history of cases that you've reported.
Though the innovation has yielded considerable results, there are challenges.
Yeah, so far I can say our limitations is access to resources to cover other states as well. With our limited resources, we have covered over 5 states now, but it is our hope, because these things are happening everywhere. Like I told you, we've received a request even outside Nigeria, but because we have limited resources, we cannot launch into other countries, since we cannot even cover the 36 states of Nigeria as a nation. So when it comes to resources, we are very limited with resources, because we piloted the app in Adamawa. That is why Adamawa people are, and these cases, I can tell you that 70 to 80% of the cases are from Adamawa state.
The goal of Smart RR is to facilitate access for survivors of gender-based violence and enhance coordination among service providers for referrals. The BF360 Foundation believes the application has come to stay and will bring succor to victims of rape in Africa. When a team of clinic experts and engineers saw news of a severe ventilator shortage in Europe in late March and worried the same could happen in Singapore, especially with a supply crunch induced by international border shutdowns, they decided to build a ventilator locally. Using components that can be easily sourced and quickly manufactured in Singapore, they designed a prototype several months later. The prototype cost 7 times less than a conventional ventilator, but is still able to provide respiratory support for patients using both invasive and non-invasive ventilation methods. The researchers hope the ventilator, known as SG Inspire Singapore Invasive Non-Invasive Support for Effective Respiration, can help COVID-19 patients with milder symptoms breathe while freeing up conventional ventilators for more severe cases.
The fundamental basis of the ventilator is actually on a simple resuscitation bag. So this is the basis of the pump. The other components which we use at the time that we were designing this were all based on what was supplyable to Singapore in the short term and was available locally. So many of the components were actually those which we could obtain, which fulfilled the needs to achieve the performance we needed based on our clinicians' advice, but also were readily available for production in quantity if the need arose. The SG Inspire is designed to actually work without any high pressure gas supply. It can function off air or low pressure oxygen. The interface is also designed to be simple. So in pandemic situations and resource limited settings, it's not possible to have trained intensivists for every single machine tending to every patient. So in those situations, often people who are perhaps not trained in intensive care medicine have to take up some of that load. And this machine is designed so that it has a very simple interface and it's relatively easy to train people to use the basic functions.
Luckily, Chan's worst fear didn't materialize in Singapore, which has barely seen any local cases in recent weeks, but he envisions a wider use for the invention.
It's also obviously technology which actually helps to treat patients or protect patients. All of these have been catalyzed in this 1 year. Multiple kind of inventions or innovations have come about this year as a result of the situation.
Chan and his team have since refined their prototype and obtained approval from Singapore Health Services, which runs about half of the city-state's government clinics, to start user acceptability testing next month. John from Sydney was born without his left hand, but has become the first person in Australia to receive an advanced multi-grip bionic hero arm built by Open Bionics in the UK.
It looks cool. I feel like Iron Man sometimes, and I love all the things I can do with my hero arm. Like, I can use it to hold things and do stuff I couldn't do without this, my hero arm.
John's previous prosthetic arm was a skin-colored single-grip device, whereas the hero arm is a robotic arm with multiple grips and can be used for everyday tasks such as eating, holding a cup and riding a scooter. Open Bionics, based in Bristol, southwest England, says the device is the world's most affordable multiple-grip bionic arm and the only one in the world small enough to fit adults as well as children as young as 8 years old.
Seeing my hero arm for the first time, I was like, wow, that looks so cool. And I was just amazed to see what the hero arm looked like and that I was actually going to own it. And I just realized, wow, I can actually have this hero arm and do so many great things with it.
Each hero arm is custom made using innovative 3D scanning and 3D printing technology. It works by picking up signals from muscles in John's residual limb. Pressing an illuminated button on the back of the hand switches it on. When John flexes muscles in his residual limb, sensors detect tiny electric signals and convert them into bionic hand movements. It's controlled by tensing the same muscles which are used to open and close a biological hand, with John receiving haptic feedback from the device.
What I love about the hero arm is that it makes me not different anymore. I just have a second hand like anyone else's. The hero arm can do anything really, and it's just a great tool to have. And when I wear the hero arm, I just think, wow, I actually have this, like, it's amazing.
Open Bionics, founded in 2014, says while every arm is unique and different, the cost for the device and fitting is typically half the price of their nearest competitors. It is covered by healthcare systems in major Western countries such as the UK, US, Germany, and France.
Right after this is my chat with David Van Dyke, co-founder, Africa Business Angel Network. Stay with us.
Statistics from the 2019 African Tech Startups Funding Report by Disrupt Africa states that 311 companies secured a combined $491 million worth of investment in 2019. Nigeria with Kenya emerged as the premier investment destinations, attracting $122 million and $149 million in funding, respectively. Now, in another report published by Intelligence by TechPoint, over $377 million was raised by Nigerian startups in the same year as against the $178.3 million raised in 2018. In the first quarter of 2020, Intelligence by TechPoint reports that Nigerian startups raised $55.37 million, which is higher than the amount raised in the first quarters of 2018 and 2019 combined. There was a 48.8% decline from that in the second quarter of 2020, as a total of $28.35 million was raised. Funding is probably the most important component for a startup, especially if they intend to grow quickly or whether it's for faster development, better marketing, or sales. Without a reliable funding source in place, startups tend to struggle to achieve significant traction, develop next-generation products, hire top-tier talent, and more. Our guest, David Van Dyke, co-founder of Africa Business Angel Network, sheds more light on how we can improve funding for the ecosystem.
David, glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you, CFA. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Interestingly, you have been here in the ecosystem for a very long time. How has the experience been with COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and today? What are your thoughts?
So it's a very interesting question. So 2020, in many ways, is almost a confusing year because on the one hand, we have these headline-making exits, we have record-breaking deals, we have more money coming into the ecosystem than ever before. At the same time, obviously, we read the news about startups having insufficient funds, lack of working capital. So there's a lot of sort of mixed signals in terms of what COVID has brought 2020. Overall, however, I'm extremely positive, and it feels that this year is almost like the coming of age of the startup ecosystem, with simply doing more deals, the exits we've been kind of all waiting for. So again, I'm very positive about what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, you and your platform, you have played a role in the involvement of a lot of ecosystems across the continent. How would you rate the ecosystem that you see today?
The ecosystem today is very different from 5 or 10 years ago. A lot of things have happened. We're definitely at a stage where things are professionalizing, both the startups, the founders, but also the investors that are becoming more and more active. At the same time, it still feels like we're only scratching the surface, and that there's so much more that can be done and has to be done to really, give every promising, innovative founder an opportunity to start and grow a company.
I like the fact that you use the word "has to be done." So tell me, what is the technology investment landscape today? What is it like today?
I think that there's enormous opportunities. I think that the increase in the number of investments, I think the increase in the size of the investments illustrates or demonstrates that people see the opportunities across the continent. You could definitely argue that the majority of those investments go to a handful of countries. So there are some countries that are leading the way, other countries that are catching up, if you will, or still have to sort of bring those opportunities to fruition. But I think that if COVID has shown us one thing, then it is that the future is digital, meaning that I think before we all kind of knew that, that obviously, technology would play a leading role in our lives, but I think that by now, it's the only way forward.
There's this issue where angel investors complain of high quality early stage ideas. How do you think that is also coming up across the continent?
Yeah, so I think that obviously, I mean, I guess it illustrates that an ecosystem consists of different components. So angel investors can only exist and play their role if there are investable ventures. So as long as there's no investable ventures, it's hard to invest, if you will. So again, it's different parts of the ecosystem that all sort of have to play their role and all have to sort of come together to make it work.
I mean, I know the work that Eban, courtesy of you and Tommy Davis, you're trying to do across the continent. But one critical question that I would like to ask you is the risk factor. At the end of the day, is there a way that the risk factor just goes away?
No, there's not. I'll look to the real world. No, but it's a good point, right? So investing in early stage companies is super high risk. And that means that investors need to have a certain level of sophistication to understand what this risk means, to understand they can lose their money, but also understand how you can mitigate those risks. So for example, one of the things that we promote and speak about is investing in syndicates, investing in groups. So not just putting my money into a company, but for you, myself, other friends, people come together and as a group invest in multiple companies. So investing in multiple companies, diversifying your risk. We also, as ABAN, try to help mitigate risks. We speak a lot with governments, international organizations, make people understand what is this angel investing, why is it relevant, why is it relevant in African context, how can governments, authorities play a role in minimizing risk, etc. But that is really a long game, if you will.
Yes, I mean, I asked you the question on the risk on purpose, but the truth is that the exits or the upside can also be attractive. So, for example, the recent Paystack deal. But what would you say to folks who've got money, but they don't have investments in the technology startups? What would you say to them? So,
one important point is that you do not necessarily have to be, extremely wealthy to be able to be an angel investor. So there's certain relatively new initiatives, for example, by Future Africa, that allows people to invest, with 5,000 US or 10,000 US. So it becomes very approachable for many more people. So one is that angel investing is not just for the wealthy, right? It can be for many more people like you and I, etc.
Finally, David, I'd like to ask you, going forward, would you still place a bet on the technology startups in helping Africa's future?
No, for sure. And I think that technology I see technology sort of underlying almost everything we do, right? So it's not technology per se. It's how can technology give better access to healthcare or transportation or energy, etc. I personally think that if you kind of sort of, look behind scratch the surface, then I think that the main challenge that we will sort of continue to see is related to, payments and the movement of money. And I think that even if the companies that are successful today in raising funds in logistics or in agriculture, that most of those companies are not just sort of experts in the field of logistics or agriculture. They also have a certain financial component to their service offering, meaning that, for example, Twiga will understand the buying patterns of their clients so well that they can provide certain credit or provide working capital to their partners, enable them to buy more, etc. So it's not just an agriculture company. It's also provide certain financial services.
All right, David, thank you for being on the show today. We wish you all the best.
Great. Thank you. Take care.
That was David Van Dyke, co-founder, Africa Business Angel Network. Now, one sure way to unlock the amazing potentials on the African continent is by ensuring that innovators solving problems have increased access to funding so that hopefully they can build better products and solutions. We've come to the end of the show, but it doesn't end here. The conversation continues online. We are Tech Trends TV on social media. Watch the show on the Channels TV YouTube or via cfablog.ng. Happy New Year from all of us at Channels Television. I am Chukwemeka Agbata.